Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. Today is our special Coach's Corner with Jackie Sherrill, who joins us today, along with Vincent Turner. Our producer and engineer is Logan Landers. Thank you, Logan, for putting everything together for us. And we'll begin today with Jackie Sherrill. Jackie, we're going to talk today about the state of NCAA football. Obviously, your experience as a player in a national championship at the University of Alabama, your coaching experience for the decades that you were part of so many different programs. But today is a different horizon out there. There's a lot of things that have changed since you played, and for obvious reasons. Many of them are to make the game better, but I think there's some confusion too as to stuff that never was allowed that is allowed today. So we want to go into your opinion, obviously, and your perspective, along with Vincent and myself. Let's just begin. Where would you put the NCAA in the status of college football, where it sits right now today? Are we good? Is it great? Is it need some fixing? What's your overall opinion on where we stand presently?
Hey, Harper, Vincent, whatever I say is my opinion and our firsthand knowledge. I was an AD, so I got to go to a lot of different meetings and also the football meetings. You know, we go back, the CFA, Chuck Ninus started the CFA back in the 70s, which was College Football Association. And so everybody joined except the Big Ten, Pac-10 back then. But the coaches came to the meeting. From that, the Oklahoma lawsuit, Georgia-Oklahoma lawsuit for proprietary rights came up because at that time, the NCAA controlled college football because they owned everything. Television, they controlled who went on, who didn't with the networks. So when the lawsuit came up, and Oklahoma and Georgia won the lawsuit. So college football, television-wise, went the other direction where everybody owned their proprietary rights. So going backwards, the NCAA could have settled that case. They could have settled the Binding case or Binding case out of Southern California. They didn't. It went all the way to the Supreme Court. They lost 9-0. And so they have completely lost any control over a player's individual rights for his name, image, and likeness. And if you go back, everybody started with the Madden program or started with the college football on videos. Again, the NCAA made all the money. The players made zero.
Yeah.
And it was their name, image, and likeness. They could have settled this a long time ago and had portion of that money going to the players. Well, fast forward, we are in the state we're in because of the negligence, or you can say what you want to, they felt they could control. They've lost control. There's no control right now. There's no guardrails. There's no guidelines. And so everybody's out there doing whatever they feel necessary. Now, I feel that we're going to go to an NFL model, which will have X number of teams. I did a television program in 1989, January of 89 in Houston, Texas on Fox, that I drew the country, all the schools, and I divided it up into 4 sections. And I said, because of monetary reasons, television will end up with 4 major conferences. Fast forward, we've passed that, and now we're going to go to an NFL model, in my opinion, and have East, West, North, South, but I think it'll be East, West, because the West Coast, East Coast teams cannot survive flying all the way across the country expense-wise. It's not sustainable economically. So we'll go to an NFL model, East-West. We'll come back, and the teams on the East will be playing teams on the East, Southeast, and same thing in the Big Ten. So we'll have two divisions. That doesn't mean we'll have some of the cross teams, just like in the NFL. But it will go to that model. My opinion, each team will probably generate between 100 and 120 million each year from television, and that will go up. So part of that television package, as we know, will go down to the players. So every school, every university will have X number for their players. Now, will they control the NIL? With the vote of 9-0 from the Supreme Court, no one can control that. The players themselves will always have control of their name, image, and likeness. However, it will be controlled or have some guardrails that everybody will have to follow. And we'll have a commissioner, very similar to the NFL, but college football will be under the same umbrella. Everybody will be working under the same guidelines. And by the way, the NCAA manual is that thick, but there is no rules. It's all guidelines. The guidelines are interpreted by a group at the NCAA headquarters of what the guidelines should be. That doesn't mean that it was spelled out and put before the whole body for the college presidents to vote on.
Jackie, you've thrown so much at my head spinning. I don't even know where to go first, other than you mentioned the guidelines. Well, how do you enforce a guideline and put a restriction on one school and give them a death penalty, and another school gets away with a slap on the wrist and then no penalty at all? All of this is amazing, and I appreciate you doing that. Do me a small favor, though. When we go back to the beginnings of it, you said that the NCAA lost control. I agree with you. I think that they were reactive rather than proactive. Kodak was in the business of producing film and memories. And when some guy who worked for Kodak invented digital possibilities with the camera, they said, no, there's no room for, they didn't change with the times, and they became a dinosaur. They went from a Dow 30 stock to non-existent. I don't want the NCAA to necessarily disappear, but tell me how they could be more proactive and not have to wait for a court case and lose it in order to reestablish some of the rules and regulations that are important for the game.
Well, I think they've lost. I don't think we'll ever have the NCAA like we've known it in the past. College football will have their own rule guidelines and bylaws, and they will be separate from the NCAA.
Do me a favor, Jackie, real small favor. The NCAA tournament for basketball, the bracketology and all of that, you see the NCAA's logo, the sticker on every floor in every gym. Will that go away with the dodo as well, or is it just going to be football?
No. In my opinion, I think football will be separate, and I'm talking about the major college football. Now they will control it. Like years ago, we had Division I, Division II, Division III, and my opinion, you will have this group, which will be 48 to 60 teams, but their guidelines, in my opinion, you will be required to have a budget of at least 150 million to be in this group. Okay. Now, there's a lot of schools that have that kind of money, but I don't think they're going to commit that money to athletics. So it's, as we know, and we talk about the Power Four now, it's going to be a group of 48, and it may be less, I don't know, or it may be 60, but you'll have a group that will have their own bylaws. It will be controlled by their own commissioner, in my opinion, and they will be separate from the NCAA. NCAA will continue to control Division II, Division III. They'll still have tennis, golf, baseball, they'll still have the Final Four. But I think football is completely different when you look at the amount of money that television pays to be on. Now with all the media outlets, you just added tons of more amount of money to the pot.
Yeah.
So
Jackie, real quick, does Colorado State, does Memphis State, does Boise, does Appalachian, do they go into a different bracket and have their own set of rules forever?
Yeah.
Okay.
And because you're going to be required, in my opinion, to have a set number, a dollar amount for your budget to get in. And we all understand that Memphis State can't compete with Tennessee at all. I mean, you can go around the country and pick out schools. So why do universities, why are they always on television? They control, because television, it's eyeballs. The more eyeballs watching that game, the more money they charge for the commercial. So that's where they make money. Television makes money from people watching that game. And in the past, we go all the way back when I played, you only had certain teams that were on because the television did not put other teams on because there was not enough eyeballs to pay for the production and make money off of it.
Yep, I get it. I understand the need for eyeballs. And Vincent, this is a perfect example for you. Is you love Memphis, that's your team, but even deep down in the heart and the pit where you are, you have to admit the Vols are much bigger, and you're going to go. If you can only pick one, you're going to take the Volunteers. Vincent, give us your perspective on the state of college football here today.
Well, my only question is, of the day is, how much roster imbalance we're going to have based on the fact the NIL keeps growing and the agents are becoming more involved. That's what I'd like for Coach Sherrill to give me his answer to that as we go forward. How much roster imbalance we're going to have and how much the agents are going to play here on out.
Well, I think the 48 or 60 teams, or how many teams, they're all going to be approximately the same. They're all going to have the same budget. They're all going to receive the same amount of money from the television package. They will have their bylaws, their guidelines, and they will have to fit. Now, when the NCAA says we stand for equality, there's no way to legislate equality. And we go back to when the NCAA, their votes, the Pac-10, Big Ten, Mid-American went on a block vote and did away with dormitories and cafeterias. The reason for that is the Big Ten, the Pac-10, Mid-America did not have dormitories, did not have the cafeterias for the athletes. Therefore, they felt the SEC, the ACC, the Big Eight back then, had the distinct advantage because they could sell the kids' parents that you live in a dormitory, you have 3 meals a day in the cafeteria and other things. Well, they voted, and I think it lost by a very few votes, but all of a sudden you could only provide 1 meal a day for the athletes. You had to have 51% of the student body living in the athletic dormitory or the dormitories. And at that time, when it happened, you could only give what the amount of money, whatever they're charging for the meal plan. So at Mississippi State, our players, a 300-pounder got $3 for breakfast, $5 for lunch, and $7 for dinner. And you provided dinner most of the time, but tell me where a 300-pounder can eat for breakfast for $3. So you took the money away from them. And fast forward, that stayed until a Final Four. One of the star basketball players was on national TV and says, I do not have money for food and I haven't eaten.
Yeah, I'm hungry. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I'm
In
hungry.
2 days, when the NCAA always said, we got to go in front of the body and so on and so on. That's not true. In 2 days, they had a vote that cleared that the players could have any amount of food. Now you go into the athletic facilities, they have a nutrition department. They have all the food that the kids want at the meals. They have what they want. And so the NCAA has been, in my opinion, controlling and falsifying what was the best for the student athletes. We make the money off the students. If you didn't have teams that drew eyeballs, are you going to be on TV? Are you going to have money coming in? Absolutely not. Are you going to, let's have any program. If they don't win games and don't have the players to win games, then you reduce the number of people who are going to be in those stands.
Yep.
So therefore they can't compete.
Yep.
So it comes back down to one thing: generating enough revenue to be able to do these things. And there are only a few college teams in the country that can do that.
Yeah, so it's almost like the top 25 hardly ever changes. This past year, you had Army kind of creep in for a little while they were undefeated. You've got a Memphis that's in there every now and then, or Boise, but really it's the same schools. It just moves around a little bit every year, and those would be the leaders. Jackie, I'm thinking that I had heard that if they still had the 5 power conferences, that there'd be 16 teams in each, so there'd be 80. You're saying that the real number is going to be, there's going to be a lot less than that. There may be less than 60 and maybe in the high 40s.
In my opinion,
right?
Because, there's not 80 teams out there that can afford it. There's not. When you have, let's say right now, if you can give 20 or 22%, but let's say the universities are going to get 100 to 120 from television revenue. Well, the Big Ten used to be control was kind of spread out, where you still had the Pac-10, Big Ten, SEC. Today, you have 2 majors. You got the Big Ten and the SEC, but that's the addition of the West Coast teams.
Yeah.
But the SEC has stayed local. And again, you cannot sustain to fly the teams all the way across the country economically. I don't care what anybody says. You're taking 70% of your income just for travel.
Yeah, I would imagine not just football wise, but the reason for the women's softball or the swimming or the golf team for USC and Rutgers to be playing against each other and traveling that distance, when you could go to San Diego State, you could go up to Cal Berkeley, the trip is half the distance. And the reason for fans to be able to attend is also in the mix there, where they may not be able to go all the way across the country. Those things have to be factored in as well. Am I correct there?
Yes. But you're going to lose fans because they're not going to be able to follow you. Let's take the Big Ten. People in the Big Ten will go from Penn State to Michigan or Penn State even to Iowa, and that's still a long haul. But in the SEC, driving in the SEC, you have tons of RV people that go to every game.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at any game in the SEC and you'll see the opposing team tons of, anywhere from 5 to 10,000.
Well, when Alabama played LSU about a decade ago, the game was in Alabama. It ended up being a 9-6 overtime win for the Crimson Tide. And I remember talking to a police officer for the university there. He said there were 110,000 people inside. There were 300,000 people outside that didn't even have a ticket, but they just wanted to be there. They wanted to be in that area. That's one of the great things about what college football absolutely provides us. But there are a lot of changes in the very near future on the horizon, is what you're telling us, Jackie.
Oh, yes. And, the Big Ten, the two commissioners, Big Ten, SEC, they probably visit once, twice, 3 times a week. They're going to be the leaders when this all comes about.
Well, there's so much ahead, and we're going to touch on that over the next couple of weeks with Jackie. We barely touched the surface of it today, but we're calling this the state of college football. Obviously, with the NCAA, with the NIL, even with the, I'm going to call it the Pavia situation with new eligibilities being made. Very, very important decisions for how the game and for how all of college athletics are going to be growing. Final thoughts, Vincent?
Hey, like Coach Sherrill says, it's going to be a new horizon in college football. My only thing is what they're going to do with the college playoff system.
Yeah.
But Coach Sherrill, greatness has told us today what's going to happen. And I hope all our fans need to listen. If you're a college football fan, you need to listen to the legend, Mr. Jackie Sherrill.
Yeah,
Well,
Jackie, we may have to call you Nostradamus because you've been right about so much of this, and your ability to kind of take what's very obvious in front of you, look at the past, look at the present, to kind of gauge what the future is. Thank you for being a part of that as well.
Well, thank you guys for having me. But the final question is for anybody: how much has the NCAA paid in lawsuits over the last 10, 15 years? If anybody found that out, which they should be able to, the public would be shocked.
I'm going to ask Logan to take that responsibility on. Logan will be our intern, crank mechanic type guy that finds out all this amazing stuff that we would need to know. But we're going to touch on this every week. We're going to talk here during the off season about things that have or need to change, and how we make the game better, not keep it in mediocrity. But yeah, definitely there's a change on the horizon, and very quick as well, right, Jackie? Some of these decisions are going to be made, and they're going to be almost instantaneous in how the game is affected.
Well, the one thing we have to understand, television is not going to slow down.
Right.
So the executives in television is pushing this faster than behind closed doors than anybody realized.
Yeah.
Because that is their income. Just being able to put sports on that, and the eyeballs that watch it with the advertising. And that's basically what happened to the Pac-10 or the Pac-12 now.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was not that many eyeballs watching the games, so they could not get the advertising that paid for the tabs.
Yeah, completely agree. And again, that's a whole different subject. I think the SC-UCLA athletic directors got together and they said, hey, there's a lack here with our network, the Pac-12 network, and there's an abundance elsewhere. So let's at least pursue that. And then we'll have that on another conversation. We will be touching on bits and pieces of where we are right now presently, and where Jackie believes that the NCAA will be headed in terms of the game of football itself, what we know as college football. So we want to say thank you for tuning in, everybody. Stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of different ideas and some things for you to be made aware of, and direction that you can hopefully take advantage of in the very near future. So for Jackie Sherrill, for Vincent Turner, for Logan Landers, our producer and engineer, I'm Harper LeBel saying thank you for tuning in today. This has been the Jackie Sherrill Show, our Coach's Corner on 100 Yards of Football. Have a fantastic day, everybody.